Okay, well, we'll wrap up that topic. We'll do topic 2, and this will just kind of be a short and sweet topic, but I thought it was still good. What are the things you look for that make or break your decision to finally purchase a piece? And of those things, which have you had to tweak? So basically, what is the final draw? Is it that if you love it, you'll buy it no matter what? Because there have been a lot of pieces lately that we've loved, but we've had to pass on because of shipping costs. You know, whenever you have a $1,300 statue that becomes a $2,000 statue, we've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that makes it or breaks it for you? If you love it, are you going to try to make it happen? Or is it one of those things where space and finances really do kick in at this point? Because I feel like, you know, we are collectors that have a lot of really expensive stuff. So I think that for the most part, we try to make things work if we can.
Mm-hmm.
But where are you guys at right now? Where's your dipstick right now in terms of, you know, what is the make it or break for you?
Go for it, Dan.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. I mean, with the state of things and the state of pricing, and you know, it's funny because value and price and all those parts of the equation have changed dramatically in the past couple of years.
100%.
Like, dramatically.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not just do I love it. I mean, sure, there are some pieces when you first see them, you're like, I gotta have it.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him I'm in Arkham. Yeah.
Yeah, Arkham. Yeah. Thanks, Brad.
But that was a layup.
It was a layup. That's perfect.
You know, it's even if I love it, is it worth $2,000+ to me at this point? You know, does it hold that kind of value for me?
Right.
And, you know, unlike the primary world that Jeff circulates in of Golden Age comics, it's less likely to appreciate in value. If anything, you hope that it holds its value, right?
Yes. Right.
So it's just a different equation there, and you know, also it's more likely to break, right? It's not, you know, you're much more likely to break some little part of it or something, which then completely kills any chance you have of not even making money, but keeping value. So the value part of the equation's changed for me. I wouldn't have had the same answer a few years ago, whereas now that weighs more heavily on me. I want to be happy and feel good about the purchase, you know, overall. And even though I know a lot of us, we talk about, oh, well, we use the hobby to fund the hobby and it's not family. At the end of the day, I consider all my money my family's money. You know what I mean? Yes, it's the money I play with as part of the checkbook or whatever, but I still want to feel good about it. And
sure.
I just, that weighs more heavily. So I know it's a little bit of sorry about the deep answer there, but that piece weighs more heavily. I mean,
that's the thing is it is deep. I mean, that's the thing is we're to that point where I feel like this is a really good question, because I feel like I agree. A couple years ago, I'd be like, screw it. I'm just going to get it. I don't care. I'm just going to get it. I don't care. You know, if I'll figure out, make room, you know, blah, blah, blah. But now we're to a point where it's like, it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider a third of the statue price is shipping or whatever. In some cases, like that's like, holy crap.
You're never getting that back, by the way.
No, never.
So that $1,400 statue that costs you $2,000 to get in your door, you're never getting the $600.
Good point.
And you have to look at the total cost. You know, my spreadsheet, Chris, that we always kind of tease about, you and I wrote a spreadsheet. I don't know, Jeff, do you keep a spreadsheet of all your stuff?
I don't. I keep a photographic record.
A photograph.
All right.
So you're anal retentive too.
Yeah.
But in my spreadsheet, I make sure I include, you know, the shipping costs, and so I can see the total as to what I spent on that piece. Mm-hmm. Some of that's for insurance purposes, but some of it is just keep myself in check.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, for me, it's like someone said in the chat, it's all about the wow factor. As you guys know, I freed myself up about a year ago to not have to worry about whether a piece is in a line I'm collecting or whether it fits in my collection. I'm looking at each piece individually in my display. which is why I've got Batman next to Swamp Thing and Red Sonja next to Spider-Man. And, you're not looking at a cohesive collection so much as individual pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, I picked up Rebel Terminator, which doesn't really fit. And I picked up Red Sonja, which doesn't really fit, but I love those pieces.
Yeah.
And so this morning when I was thinking of what pieces I can list in Batman Statue Collectors Buy-Sell Trade Group.
Thank you for the plug.
Which I have nine pieces listed there now.
Nice.
It did not include any of the pieces I picked up in the last year because I thought they were awesome and didn't fit in my collection because I still love those pieces. So yeah, price is a big deal. I don't really buy too much Prime 1, if any, but I have gotten into LBS. So, and those are in the price range that Dan's talking about.
By the way, every time you mention LBS, that bell rings.
Yeah, well, Angel just got its wings. Yeah. So
Jay heard you talking about him. Ding.
ding.
Mm-hmm, yep.
So yeah, that's certainly a consideration, but I've also kind of adopted a less is more attitude. So yes, I have the LBS Hulk coming in, but that's taking the space of like 4 quarter scale pieces.
Easy, yeah.
So I'm just going to have 4 less pieces in my collection to have this one wow piece in the corner of my display. And that's how I'm thinking of it now. I don't want to be limited anymore, but I also realize that means I have to make accommodations for larger pieces.
Well, I think that's, just the natural progression where especially if you don't have a ton of space, you just have to make your tough choices sometimes. And it's not that you don't love the art. It's just that you might like this art more.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Exactly.
So the other part of it I wanted to ask is that as a collector, we're seeing, and it's because of oversaturation, but we're seeing a tremendous amount of low ES, which I would imagine makes a lot of collectors happy. Whereas, now it's really difficult to sell a lot of times. It's like Dan said, you're lucky if you retain the value without it going down. Do you think some of these things like what PCS is doing, or some of these low Prime 1 ESs or low Sideshow ESs, do you think that'll help a little bit in terms of getting people to buy or people being more excited about buying at this point? What do you guys think about these low ESs? Does it matter to you?
It matters to me from a resale point of view, but it doesn't seem to be helping as far as sales. I still look at the PCS Blade Museum version that hasn't sold 75 of their Ultra exclusive. That seems weird to me. 75 is not a big number. So, yeah, I'm not sure it's helping the sellers all that much, although they're not stuck with as much stock as they would have if they'd gone with a higher ES, of course. I don't know. Maybe it's to be determined.
How about you, Dan? What does it matter to you? Like that new Ivy. You have that Ivy. There's a ES of 200 on her. Does buying her make you think, man, I will have no trouble selling this if I ever want to sell her?
I mean, Monday morning quarterback. Yeah.
Sure.
I didn't know it when I PO'd it.
Right. Yeah. None of us did. It was crazy.
So I felt like there was a real high value factor for me there. Like it fit really well. I need an Ivy for my collection. I love the aesthetic of that Ivy, right? The style of her. We talked a little bit off air before we came on the show. I mean, I'm a sucker for the pinup style, and it's a very classic Poison Ivy. I just like the whole thing all the way around, and Sideshow delivers all that at a very attractive price. She's not peak, so shipping's not going to be nuts. I might actually own that statue all in for under $1,000. Wow, go figure, right?
Right.
So with that one, I didn't hesitate at all. I felt like that was real good. But like Jeff was saying about, taking a less is more kind of approach, I've definitely been doing that as well.
Yeah, I think especially if you've been in the game for a long time, I think there was a time 5, 6, 7 years ago where everybody was just buying everything.
Buying everything. Oh, yeah.
But there was also a lot less available at that time. I mean, Sideshow is really the only one in the game. And whenever there was a premium format, that's what people went for. If there was like 10 or 15 premium formats a year, people bought 10 or 15 premium formats, depending on the genre they were collecting. But now we have 1 million statues out there, the same character. And so people are more choosy, which I think you have to be. And like somebody mentioned earlier, that wow factor, if you have something that's a wow to you and stands out for you and you can afford it, or, you know, if you can make a payment plan or whatever, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm probably a bad example because I tend to buy quite a bit. But I've also sold a lot recently. I've gotten, you know, rid of a lot of things that I just didn't have room for. I had doubles of. So I don't know. That's kind of where to me, it has to have a wow factor and I have to be excited about it. If I'm not excited about it, it's an easy pass for me.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of ordering things like, that wane over time. Like I was really excited about that Catwoman on Batpod and I sold her. You know, I was, you know, thinking about 3 or 4 more life-size busts and I decided not to do that. So, you know, it changes over time and you have to be selective, but I think at the end of the day, you have to be in love with the piece to spend $2,000 on it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about that, or you want to go to photos?
So let's go to photos.
So just one, sorry, Jeff, just one more quick question for you, Chris, on that point, because you're a collector who, in so much as you've talked both in the Facebook group as well as on the show about maybe reconstituting your quarter scale Batman surrounded by his villains diorama.
Yes.
You always characterize yourself as a 1/3 collector. You're primarily a 1/3 collector. Have the things that we've just been talking about, have they changed your point of view with respect to that? Because 1/3 to me would be one of a scale that is being highly influenced by all those things.
So I would say yes and no. 1/3 is still my favorite scale. I love the presence of them.
Mm-hmm.
If they were still all $1,000, I would be really happy. Because they started out at 900. They got me hooked at 900.
Yep.
And Prime One was really smart about that, which is why I'm telling Jay, you got to start out small.
Yep.
Sell Batman at a really good price. And so they obviously got me hooked with the Arkham line. They were the only ones doing a 3rd scale. So they got me hooked. I sold that entire line. I got them all back. But guess what? Most of them are going to be the first to go if I need them to go. Because I'm going to have plenty of room. And that's something I worry about, is like, well, I'm going to have this big room. Is it going to look very good if I don't fill it? And so, but then when it's full, then I'm like, well, crap, now it's full. Now what do I do? So I'm kind of at that as I'm getting ready to move into the bunker. I still prefer 3rd scale. And it's kind of, I don't know, financially, it's kind of nice to hear that Prime One's going to do less, maybe, because then it's like, well, then I don't have to worry so much about the wallet. But then here comes Jay, and he says, hey, I'm going to do all of these DC villains that have never been done, like Clayface and Ra's al Ghul. And I said, I'm all in. And that means that my wallet is going to be crying. But at the end of the day, if I have to replace my Arkham line with that line, I will.
Well, but the other factor for you has to be that Sideshow's pretty exciting with their quarter scale rogues right now.
They are. And even Prime One going to quarter scale, I love what they're doing. But again, that Batcave, $2,000 or $3,000.
Yep.
So you're paying 3rd scale prices for quarter scale stuff, although they are larger dioramas, which is great. That I'm nervous about that Killer Croc versus Batman price, because I think it's going to be I bet you that's going to be the same price as the current Batman versus Joker diorama in 3rd scale. I bet it'll be real similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still collecting 3rd scale as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I am kind of excited that there's kind of a resurgence of quarter scale a little bit. I love that Sideshow's doing some more characters. I'm hoping that the Penguin sales are giving them confidence to do a Riddler or somebody like that, because I love the idea of putting that collection back together. And I think that some of the quarter scale stuff is really, really exciting, especially what Prime One's doing. But I still consider myself primarily a 3rd scale collector, but at this point, 3rd scale and quarter scale are my focus.
Gotcha.
I'm actually more excited about Sideshow, to be honest. From an artistic point of view, looking at that Penguin, that Joker, that new Ivy,
Yeah.
they're really stretching a little bit.
Yep.
Whereas I think we kind of talked about off camera recently, at least in my point of view, a lot of the Prime One stuff looks similar to each other. There's a lot of fab portraits
Yeah.
on Batman over and over and over again. Whereas we're seeing something new and fresh from Sideshow that we haven't seen before.
And I mentioned that to Prime One.
Oh, you
We had
did?
that conversation. I mentioned that, and they're real happy with what they've been doing. And that's great. They found a Batman look that they like. But at the same time, I feel like there's a good chance they're shooting themselves in the foot. As a collector of comic books, or as a collector of the comic book art that Prime One's doing, which I love that they do that. Because Sideshow, they do their own thing. They don't do anything based on art for the most part.
Right.
They've done some art germ stuff, but other than that, they've pretty much done their own thing, their own representation of the character. Whereas Prime One, if you have, a Batman Damned, they do a Batman Damned,
Yeah.
And so I like that they do that, but I feel like if I would like to see them do more. I'd like to see them do an Alex Ross. I'd like to see them do a Capullo. I'd like to see them do Neil Adams. Like, that would be really neat if they branched out a little bit and still stuck with their comic book thing, but didn't give us 17 Jason Fabok portraits.
Right.
So I do think that they're shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, especially at this price point. If they want to sell more, maybe branch out a little bit.
Yep.
But that's just me. All right. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.